There are two Kyivstoners. One is the one who is friends with Basta, used to go on Russian shows, and was basically considered one of their own by Russians. And the second one is, according to the FSB, the #1 saboteur who allegedly coordinated the delivery of 35 drones near Moscow and directed accomplices in preparing a strike on a defense plant. And this very man has suddenly become the Kremlin's main enemy. So how did this happen? Did the FSB really betray one of their own, or was he never truly one of them? Who on the Russian side decided to burn all bridges for the former star of the CIS countries? And in the end, is he pro-Russian or pro-Ukrainian? Let's figure it out now. For those who aren't aware, here's a brief summary. He was born in Kyiv, just an ordinary guy, and moved to America when he was still young. There, by the way, he made funny videos under the nickname Budget Garichi, short sketches where he played all the roles himself. Then he returned to Ukraine and joined the band Gribi. There he was responsible for the comedic part, the sketches that were inserted into the music videos.
We're kind of like mushrooms, auntie, you better keep an eye on your stuff. This is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Here, take your money back, this is poison, this is poison.
The band blew up, became very popular, but Kyivstoner left and started a solo career. And this is where things get interesting, because alongside his music, he started getting closer to the Russian show business scene, not just with anyone, but with Basta. They hosted a show together on YouTube, appeared together in videos, and an important point, this friendship isn't some old story from a past life. It continued even after the full-scale war had already started.
From elsewhere too, from Mezhgorod and all the other stuff going on. That's it, Yur. Not because I'm telling you again, I just don't want to. Why bother? But...
Is Vasya still like a brother to you?
Yes, yes. Say whatever you want, yes. Yes, that's how I see it.
And even before all this, in 2021, that is, before the invasion, Kyivstoner was already involved in a scandal. He entertained Russians who had come to Kyiv and publicly chanted Russia. Many people at the time took it as if he was supporting the aggressor country. One of the first to react to this was the blogger Serhiy Sternenko, who accused him of working for Russian propaganda. So even before the full-scale war, the picture was already quite telling.
Albert, if you suddenly want to call Russia again, just know that the best place to do it is on the front line in Donbas. You go out into the field, preferably so that you can be seen from the Russian positions, stand there and shout, "Russia! Russia will definitely send you its love and regards."
And now imagine how this very person faced the war itself. On February 24, 2022, when the full-scale invasion began, Kyivstoner was in Kyiv, and according to his own words, he stayed there for 5 days and then left, first to Europe and then to the USA because he has American citizenship. And here we see the first major contrast, because literally at the same time, there's a video where Kyivstoner sends greetings to Skylia. For those who don't know, this is one of the most scandalous assault regiments of the Ukrainian armed forces.
Respect to the guys from the 425th Skylia Regiment. My sincere greetings to you.
And here, naturally, a question arises. A person who left the country just a few days before the war is sending greetings to the guys who are storming the front. Let's just say, it looks rather ambiguous. And this is just the beginning of the stories that made Ukrainians look at him with more and more questions, because what followed was a much louder story. January 2024. Kyivstoner is streaming, and during this stream he says something very strange about a particular Ukrainian soldier, David Kasatkin, whose call sign is Kimik. And Kimik is not just anyone, he is a real defender of Azovstal. He went through captivity, returned in a prisoner exchange, and now trains other soldiers. And so, on the stream, Kyivstoner claims that Kimik is supposedly Kontorsky, meaning he works for the SBU, and that's why he is speaking out against him. And then it gets even sharper.
I didn't leave.
You loser, and you even allow yourself to...
But you could have given your life for the country, not just gone around giving interviews.
Right? Ha 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 ha.
Yes. Yes.
Now just imagine for a second, a person who left the country 5 days after the invasion began is telling a captured defender of Azovstal that he hasn't suffered enough for his country. This is the moment after which many people finally made up their minds about Kyivstoner. And you'd think, how much further could it go? But literally a year later, there was another statement that spread even wider. I'm talking about the interview with Yuri Dud in September 2025. There, Kyivstoner talks about the lawlessness happening on the part of the territorial recruitment centers, TRCs.
So to go on living like this, well, it really upsets me that I have guys who honestly have been sitting at home for half a year and can't even go outside, you know? Like, because they're just scared.
Well, are they afraid they'll be taken to the front?
Yeah. Yeah, because, well, there are people who just don't want to go to the front. That's it.
That's all. Also, in the interview, he says that he feels constrained in Ukraine, lacks freedom of speech, and that it would be easier for him to live and create in Moscow. At the same time, according to him, he hates Putin. But then he immediately starts to feel sorry for Russians. He says, I worry about the people who live there. And this very position is rather strange. On the one hand, he doesn't like Putin, but on the other, he justifies the silence of Russian celebrities, saying that they've all been intimidated over the past 10 years. And at the same time, he openly calls Maxim Galkin and Basta his brothers. So, in this way, he's both a patriot and at the same time the best friend of people who support the war against his own country. In short, he's outside of politics. And now, when we already know all this background, let's return to where we started. The FSB claims that this very person is the coordinator of sabotage against Russia, a person who for years was friends with Russians, complained about Ukraine, and who, judging by social media, at the time of the accusations was nowhere near the place from which the alleged attack was supposedly coordinated. According to the FSB, the target was some kind of defense plant in the Moscow region. They say they planned as many as 35 FPV drones, and not just any kind, but ones that can withstand jammers and were loaded with explosives. And here's the most interesting part. According to the FSB's version, these drones were transported from Kyiv through Poland and Slovakia, and they were hidden in a shipment of ceramic tiles. Well, you get how seriously they described everything there. They say the person who was supposed to launch all this was detained. And another person, the one who rented the hangar where the drones were stored, was shot during his arrest because, according to their version, he resisted. And here the main character of this whole story appears. Because, according to the FSB's statement, the whole operation was directed by the Ukrainian rapper Kyivstoner. Moreover, they added another detail that has nothing to do with the terrorist attack at all. Supposedly, he was also dealing cocaine on the side, with no evidence whatsoever, just thrown in for good measure. And of course, Kyivstoner responded to all this quickly, briefly, and let's say very much in his own style.
There are 48 days left until the end of summer. If only I could live to see the end of this summer. What I want to say, guys. Actually, attention is nice, but it's kind of, well, whatever. What was I going to say? I don't know, like, what I did to deserve this kind of attention, and like, I just have one question. Why? Shit, I get it. There was some active guy somewhere doing something. Yeah. I'm a washed up pilot. So much money was spent just to like put me out there like this. I don't know who did this and why the hell. This is the most pointless investment that could possibly exist, bro. I just have one question. Why? I'm just chilling, bro, playing Dota. Organization of some...
By the way, there is no independent confirmation of these accusations at all. So they just said it and no one is going to prove anything. And by the way, this isn't the first time Russia has tried to pin something like this on Ukrainians. For example, just recently in Germany, another Ukrainian was accused of allegedly being involved in the sabotage of the Nord Stream gas pipeline. So it seems this is already a common tactic. And so it turns out that a person who for years was friends with Russians publicly complained about their own country, reproached a wounded defender of Azovstal, and at the same time sent greetings to the guys at the front, is now, according to Russia, the one directing attacks against Moscow. What a coincidence. The conclusion is this: the person is indeed controversial, but the fact that the FSB accuses him of attacking the Moscow region only raises more questions than answers. From the star's own reaction, it's clear that he himself doesn't understand what's going on. So, a person who was always outside of politics has found himself at the very epicenter of politics itself. Well, as always, we've covered the topic, and now it's up to each of you to draw your own conclusions. Write in the comments what you think. Is this just another Russian provocation, or was it inevitable that this person would eventually get hit from all sides? I'm really interested to hear your opinion. Give a like if you watched until the end. Subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdowns. And with that, I say goodbye until we meet again.